Okay. Clerk, the time is 7:01. I'm going to call this council meeting to order. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the William Treaties of 1923, shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Council, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councilor Weiss, Councilor Gilliland, any comments or questions? I have one. I am going to be withdrawing the motion in regards to eliminating minimum parking requirements for this month, so 10.1, and I'll be making some minor adjustments and reintroducing it for next month. Okay. All vote on East Crab. Oh, not yet. We'll do. You do it? Do it a second time. Sometimes it's picky like that. Councilor Gardner's a yes. And Councilor Gallo is good. Still no? Councilor Gallo, you're a yes? Yeah, you're a yes? Councilor Gallo is a yes? Absent, because I don't think I'm gonna keep getting him to turn on his camera. That carries. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Mr. Thompson, you.
Thank you, Mayor Mrakas. Councillor Kim is unable to be with us in person this evening because he's attending his daughter's high school graduation, but he has asked if he could participate in the discussion and vote for the SARC Gymnasium, item 8.1.7. I'd like to put forward a motion to waive procedural bylaw to move that item forward so we can have the conversation now, so Councillor Kim could participate and still also participate in his daughter's graduation.
Thank you, Councillor. So we don't need to waive procedure as long as there's no objections. I can rearrange this. And what I would ask is if no one has objections, is that I ask for those items that everyone wants pulled, just so we can have them written down, and then we would work on 8.1.7 and then move back to the community presentations after we deal with that one item. Is everyone good with that? Seeing no objections. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go to the standing committee reports and ask her what items everyone wants pulled. So Councillor Thompson, I'm assuming you want 8.1.7.
Yes, if I can have 8.1.7 pulled, 8.1.6 and 8.2.7, please.
Okay. Anybody else?
Gardner.
Councillor Gardner. 8.2.8. Okay. Anybody else? All right, can I get a motion to approve the remaining items? All items minus 8.1.6, 8.1.7, 8.2.7, 8.2.8. Counselor Thompson, second. Counselor Weiss. Call a vote. That carries. So we're going to go with 8.1.7. Also, clerk, I think we should also be doing 9.1 as well with it. Yeah, it's just, but it should be done at the same time. Counselor Thompson, you pulled this one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask that the original motion from GC be put on the floor.
Do I have a seconder? Staff recommendation. Seconder? Counselor Weiss, thank you. Counselor Thompson, floor is yours.
Thank you. There's been lots of discussion over the years about the need for the gym, but we know the population is growing. By 2051, Aurora is projected to have 85,000 residents, but if you ask staff, they certainly think that we will exceed that number sooner rather than later. Already, we have over 6,000 units in the pipeline. And by that, I mean they are either already approved, they are at the Ontario Land Tribunal for a final decision, the application's been received, or staff expect it to be received at some point this year. That means we could have nearly 12,000 residents within Aurora in the next 5 to 10 years if all this were to materialize. As council is well aware, we are responsible for what the community will look like in the future. The building blocks for tomorrow need to be set up today. Otherwise, we run the risk of not being able to meet the needs and expectations of our residents. Staff have shown throughout the report and in previous discussion that there is a strong need in the community for another gym. In fact, the need was identified in 2006 when the SARC was built and reaffirmed in 2016 when the Parks and Rec Master Plan was last updated. And the need has only grown stronger and will continue to do so as the community continues to grow. Staff have demonstrated that if we build it, the gym will be well utilized by community groups, individuals, and for further town programming. While I share my colleagues' disappointment in the rapid escalation of the cost of the gym, it is a reality we are seeing across the board. Similar increases have been noted and shared involving other municipalities and similar projects with substantive increases to their overall budgets. I'd like to thank Ms. McDougall and Mrs. Wainwright Van Kessel for their work and the supplementary information provided on the funding questions raised and how we can responsibly move forward with this project. But I would like to add one point. As we know, the development charges we collect are intended to offset the cost of increased municipal services and infrastructure required due to population growth resulting from new development. But you do not want to wait until these units are built and the funds are collected before attempting to address the needs of the community, because it can take years to go from concept to completion. We need to always be forward thinking and planning for the future. I spoke earlier of the 6,000 units in the pipeline. We need to be taking action now so that when those new residents do arrive, there is no decline in services or support to our existing residents because of the additional pressures to the system. And that's why the DCs will sometimes appear to be in a deficit position, because we are paying today for what we need tomorrow. But let's not forget that the money will come back to the municipality. Development charges are a well-prescribed process. Every 5 years, we put together a study to determine our future needs and how much is required from development to help ensure growth pays for growth, or at least try to. Again, going back to those 6,000 units, on average, we will receive $20,000 in development charges for each unit. Doing the math, that would equate to $126 million. Now, there are a lot of needs that offset that amount, but what I can tell you is that we will recover the full amount eligible for the gym from both current and future development. And so if we are looking to the future and all agree that Aurora will continue to grow, then we should, in my opinion, not only build the gym at the SARC, but start talking about what are we building next? Because the clock is ticking.
Thank you. Councillor Weiss.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Ms. McDougall and the staff and Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel for all the work that's being done on the financing, because that's a critical incident or issue, as Councillor Thompson has stated. The supplementary information that you have provided showed some disturbing procurement trends, which many municipalities have faced. So I appreciate those in there. It doesn't make it easier. It's just a reality of our economics now. Cost projections have skyrocketed and leave us all concerned whether facilities should be built at all in this volatile environment. I was thankful that you brought forward the questions about scope and the value of what is being done here, particularly in that place and out in that area. So that was important, because the consequences and the opportunities are there for us. The funding sources were also questioned, and consequences of investing in this project are now clearly identified in order to manage our expectations, particularly those needed in the southwest quadrant, where we've had a discussion about a recreation complex that was looked on as maybe we can't do that in the next 10 years or so. So managing resources for Aurorans when they need them is important. And I like what Councillor Thompson said about building things in advance of, or planning them in advance of need, because in the past we've been pretty woeful and waiting for things and waiting for 5 years, and residents have been without the services that we find important. I also see that you put alternatives in there for meeting the needs of the local community sport organizations who are not served by this project. And while it's disappointing, there are viable opportunities and options that we have ahead of us. And we'll explore them, but I just don't think they're going to be here at the SARC. So that's a problem for us all. You made mention about the indoor leases for the school boards and the permits there, the retrofitting of existing commercial buildings, which I appreciate, because that certainly is possible in this environment, but rejecting them is not feasible. I appreciated your comments on that. And permitting schools is going to require political will, and we need an awful lot more work on that. We do have all of these facilities. They're taxpayer funded. They should be available to us, but we somehow can't work that out. And I think we need to work that out for the benefit of everybody in this community. The most important statement for me is a declaration that you had confirming the community need. And you spent a significant amount of time putting together the schedule that really identifies that there is need now and that will only grow in the future for the amenities that are there. I am also disappointed that the cost of a single gym, but I think we have to look at this as being a project that has greater scope than just a gym. We have amenity areas and others, and while they won't be used particularly for actual active participation, I think you've made a very good case of why they need to be put in and afforded in this project. So in short, I'm satisfied that the needs of this facility for its recreation purposes, and while it doesn't tick off all of the boxes and is undeniably more expensive than was projected, I think the delays will make this even less affordable in the future, but it certainly won't make it less important. I'm optimistic that those unchecked boxes can be managed in the future. And I look forward to listening to what my council colleagues have to say about this project prior to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gillan.
Thank you. Appreciate your insight there, Councillor Weiss. A lot was unpacked there, and I do appreciate a lot of the hard work that was done. there was a lot of missing gaps I felt in the initial report that was given to council, especially with the projections of our rec center. Obviously, the cost of this gym is, to me, still gobsmacking, and I'm still really angry and mad about it. In your email, you did, in your supplementary information, you did express how other municipalities have been facing all this, and it's just really hard to stomach, to be quite honest. And it's really disappointing that, you know, the taxpayer has to supplement that. I did ask for this to be on the agenda tonight. I felt it was very important for the public to see the hard work behind the scenes, because we are making a decision on whether or not we're going to go ahead and spend this 14 million. And as everybody knows, for me, it was about, you know, are we putting ourselves in a situation to where we're not going to be able to have alternative programming needs met, whether it be an aerodome structure, other facility builds that are a smaller scale when we're partnering with third parties, you know, other lands that might be coming available, such as Bloomington. I know that's something that we've often vied for. So through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. McDougall or Ms. Wainwright Kessel, whoever would like to answer, if you could just, you know, touch on some of those ability to do other projects, just to put some comfort. I know that was in this supplementary report for the public. So we can further explain what our options are for growth in the future. I understand the rec center is probably more of a longer term outlook, but if we could kind of encompass everything that would be available to us to give some comfort in where we're at, I would appreciate it.
Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So there are other opportunities for smaller projects. A new recreation center is a massive undertaking. We would need land, and it would be a large investment. But there's opportunities for smaller things, such as outdoor recreation, artificial turfs, possibly like another bubble structure, things that are more affordable. But we do have reserves that will be able to manage some of those investments and expand some recreation opportunities for the residents of Aurora.
Councillor.
Thank you. And I understand if we were to suggest to say we were able to make an investment in a property that did become available, that we would have other reserves that we could pull from to help with those costs.
Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So it depends on the use of the land. So for example, we have a fair bit of money sitting in our cash and lieu parkland, and we're looking for opportunities to be able to spend on that. And I know council is diligently looking for opportunities to invest in that land. The requirements for that is for parkland development. So things that could be put on there could be like soccer pitches, turfs, trails, parks, and outdoor recreation type amenities.
Councillor.
Thank you. So it's a completely different bucket than we were pulling from this project, which is a newly noted opportunity for growth, which gives me a little more comfort. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. McDougall, in respect to the programming, and I know that was kind of touched on as whether or not it would be impactful to some of the organizations. I do appreciate the sample schedule, which you had promised, and I was hoping that perhaps maybe you could touch on that and explain that a bit for the public as well. Again, I feel this information is very important.
Ms. McDougall.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's thanks to our recreation services team. Lisa Worth helped pull this together amongst her team back when we were doing the analysis for the need for the SARC gym. She certainly reviews and vetted it in preparation for this report, more updated. But what she's pointing out here on this proposed schedule is looking at the gym after consultations, seeing what the user groups and who might be using it at which times. So the user groups we're talking about are community clubs that are in the local area that may be interested, pickleball groups, the Seniors Association, that kind of thing that could book as a community group. And then there's rentals. One time we're talking in those cases where you might have a tournament, or you might have even the home show might see it as an overspill or opportunity to spread out during that type of an event. And then in addition to that, rentals might be birthday parties or other initiatives. In addition would be town programs. We have a lot of pressure for town programs to get access to gym space. We see that at the AFLC. We have wait lists for programs. We'd love to expand. We just don't have that available opportunity at the AFLC. So we know based on the development of the schedule that we could see easily filling up this facility quite quickly. There will be still some vacancies potentially or down times during the daytime hours. That's natural during the day, but there are opportunities potentially for more rentals during the day as well, private user groups. So that's really what we're looking at regarding a proposed schedule, keeping in mind as well, the space is divisible. So there may even be an opportunity to have a group on one side and another group on the other, depending on what the initiative is. So we're doing the best we can to make it the most of that space.
Counselor?
Great. Thank you very much. I did have another question and I'm trying to find it here. I'll have to get back to you on that if anybody else wants to chime in.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? No. That's all right. Well, if there's no other comment, I guess I'll make a couple of comments and then I'll call a vote. A lot, I think what Councillor Thompson and Councillor Weiss both summed it up perfectly. I think that what we also need to remember is that, and we've done this quite a bit in regards to projects, from concept to groundbreaking. So when that first motion comes in, we're usually looking anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And that's why we always need to be looking to the future and making sure that we're basically building for the needs of our community for the future today, because we have to. Otherwise, we're going to keep falling behind. We have been behind. We're starting to catch up slowly. But if we don't move forward and don't do the things that our community are going to need as we continue to grow, we're going to fall even further behind, and our community is going to be left without the services that are much needed or that are much expected as well. I mean, we've done a phenomenal job, I think, investing in our community, and we have to keep investing. And I think that it was said already, but it's not a this or a that. This is needed. We've identified the need through the Parks and Rec Master Plan. It doesn't mean that we end here. It means that we continue after this one to look at how do we continue to expand? How do we continue to invest in our community? As was mentioned, this one is not necessarily being built for our sports organizations. It's not focused on that. It's more focused on our community and our residents being able to utilize it. I think about residents trying to play pickup basketball. It's very difficult for someone in our community right now to go play pickup basketball. So we're building this not only for sports organizations to be able to utilize it, as was mentioned, through practices or some training, possibly dry land training, but also for our residents that just want to come and utilize facilities in our community. And that's what we're supposed to be developing and investing in. And so, for me, I've always been an advocate for this. I think we need to do this. As was mentioned, I think all of us are a little bit annoyed with the fact that with the costs increase, but as Councillor Thompson mentioned, it's the reality that we're facing today. And if we delay or we don't do it and we say, let's do it a little bit later down the road, it's just going to cost us more. And so to me, that we're not doing a service to our taxpayers if we just look at the fact that, well, let's just not make that decision tonight. And Councillor Weiss, you are correct. It will take political will to get something done. All municipalities have been fighting to try to get space in the schools and seeing how we can work on this, and nothing's ever come of it. It's going to take, and I know you and I have had that conversation, it's going to take the ministry at the provincial level to actually finally make a change right across the board. And so hopefully someday we can get there, but that's not something that we can hang our hat on and hope that it comes to fruition sooner rather than later. So I'll be in favor of this. And the other thing to add too, and I know we've talked a little bit about infrastructure, and just before I call the vote, we are going to grow. Councillor Thompson described some of the growth that is going to be occurring and the numbers that are projected. And we're going to, but at the same time that we're always talking about providing more housing in our community, getting shovels in the ground, cutting red tape, The same needs to be said when it comes to infrastructure in our community. We got to get shovels in the ground. We got to cut red tape. We got to keep up with the growth with the infrastructure. And if we don't, it's going to be disastrous for our community down the road in the future. Yeah. So to me, this is something that is needed and that will bring much benefit to our community and to our residents. So I'll be in favor. Councilor Gilliland?
Thank you. Yeah, my other comment for staff through you, Mr. Chair, to I guess Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel, with some of the updates that were, I guess, omitted from the original report and the supplementary information that has been provided, which has really put comfort in. I think we're concerned about the level of risk down the road as far as, what else can we build if we spend this 14 million? And I think that was some of the answers that we needed to understand before being able to spend that. So it left a lot of unanswered questions. In respect to a foreseeable future with the gym, I think you outlined that it is a much longer outlook, whether or not we went ahead with the gym or not. And if you could also just confirm that, other levels of government would be at play in order to help subsidize that.
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So for the investment of a new recreation facility, just because of what we're seeing in the marketplace that other municipalities are paying, looking at a neighborhood of 80 to $90 million when you're factoring in land, we would need help from other levels of government, because even if growth comes, that's still a significant investment. And it's a matter of the timing of when that growth happens. And if we were to use development charges to pay for the whole thing, we would still need to debenture a lot of that and need to be able to ensure they're actually collecting enough development charges to pay for the debenture costs on an annual basis. So it's a significant investment. And this is where the province and the federal government needs to be able to help municipalities in investing in such large pieces of infrastructure.
Council.
Thank you. And so just as a comparator, so not within 10 years, but our outlook's within 20.
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
That's still dependent on a number of factors. How quickly we grow is a large factor. So if the growth comes faster than expected, we may be able to do it sooner. And it also depends if the province or the federal government come forward with funds to help us develop a new recreation facility. So there's a number of things at play. And that's why when we do our budget annually and we look at our 10-year capital plan on an annual basis, so we can adjust for what's happening currently in our outlook. So right now it's in a much longer term horizon that we're looking at, but things could change depending on what grants and other opportunities come forward.
Councilor.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the clarity and I appreciate the updated information and supplementary information report. And hopefully the public will see that too. Thank you.
Thank you. So before I call the vote, thanks staff for that supplementary report. I think it was great at being able to answer all of council's questions and providing enough information for us to be able to make a decision in regards to this. So thank you, staff, for that. Call a vote. That carries. So, Mr. Clerk, I'm going to go back now to community presentations. Okay. So community presentation 5.1, we have Andrew Fagan, Chief Executive Officer, Community Living Central York, regarding Community Living Central York. Andrew, welcome.
Am I on here? Yeah.
Yeah, you're on. You're good.
Thank
to
you.
go.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for having me here even this evening, Mayor Mrakas and Council. It's my pleasure to be here. My name is Andrew Fagan, CEO at Community Living Central York. Mayor Mrakas toured our building on Penrose Street, a new facility we moved back to in 2019. this year in January, Mayor Mrakas had the opportunity to visit us and thought it would be beneficial for me to be here tonight. Excuse me. At this time, I would like to show you a brief video to give you an idea of who we are and who we support here in Central York Region.
Welcome to Community Living Central York. My name is Tara Watt. I'm the Director of Human Resources. Community Living Central York is a nonprofit charitable organization which provides supports to people with a developmental disability. We just celebrated our 68th year of providing supports in York Region. Community Living Central York is committed to a vision of a community where everyone belongs. Our mission is to enable people with a developmental disability to achieve their fullest potential. We currently employ approximately 180 employees. We have several exciting career opportunities of full-time and part-time support workers.
Hi, I'm Jason Sinnett, Director of Operations for Community Living Central York. We currently support over 450 people in 16 homes within the region of Central York, providing a wide range of services and programming. Some of the supports and services offered by Community Living Central York are supported living, supported independent living, the Associate Family Program, Respite Program, and community participation supports. We currently offer a wide range of life skill programs such as literacy program, health and wellness program, cooking, and a robust employment program which consists of job coaching and employment opportunities, which are all available for fee for service.
To find out more, please visit our website or any of our social media platforms. We look forward to hearing from you.
As the video mentioned, Central York's currently supporting 40 individuals across York Region living independently in their own apartments. We have 72 individuals living in our 16 homes across Central York Region. We have 250 individuals participating in our day and employment program. 47 of those individuals are employed by 50 employers in York Region, and that number continues to grow. We have 15 people supported by associate families, 87 supported in our respite program, and our numbers continue to grow. The pressures continue to grow. Since August 2022, we supported 150 new individuals and families in our evening and weekend programs. Our current Developmental Service Ontario wait lists are over 2,000 people with intellectual disabilities waiting for homes, 24-hour supports, and over 3,000 individuals waiting for day programs in Central York Region alone. There's been individuals waiting on our wait lists across the province for 40 years with intellectual disabilities for housing. Our pressures are real. Obviously, inflation, our individuals are living on ODSP, and most are living, in fact, in poverty. So I'm here tonight again to thank you, to bring awareness to the people that we support across York Region. We want to continue to grow. And if anyone in the room knows anyone that requires services, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Bonnie Kelpa or anyone at Community Living Central York. Thank you again, Mayor Mrakas.
Thank you, Andrew. Councillor, a motion to receive the presentation. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Gilliland, any comments or questions? Before I go, Andrew, I just did want to thank you. I know normally I go last, but I just wanted to say thank you. And when I did come by, I thought it would be a great idea for you to come out here and for council to hear exactly what community living does, because I think it's such an amazing service to members of our communities. And you're right, there is a lot of pressure points and not enough there for what is needed. But the work that you guys do is phenomenal. And I hope council, all of you take the opportunity to visit the facility, because I can tell you when you walk in there, it's like it brings a smile to your face. It's everyone there is happy, smiling, laughing. It's like a ray of sunshine. It truly is. It's a phenomenal place. So I hope that each of you get an opportunity to reach out to Andrew and visit the facility. So, Councillor Gallo.
Thank you. I too wanted to just to acknowledge the work that you do and thank you for it on behalf of the community, the entire community. And it's always frustrating to see that perhaps not enough is being done. And as we move into, post-pandemic and try to understand the damage that was done, and I'm sure in your area, the damage is significant. Do you find at times that the resources are lacking for the need that's in the community? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, individuals can't afford the resources that are available. I think the lack of funding is creating struggles for all organizations, families, and individuals. And definitely we're lacking in services for people with disability. I think when you look at accessibility, we need to do more work around accessibilities on all of our main streets and in our communities, as well as our buildings. So I think there's still significant pressure, and I think there's definitely a need for growth in services.
Councilor.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, can you just remind us where your funding comes from?
Primarily funded from MCSS, Ministry of Communities, Children's Social Services.
Our minister right here.
I'm sorry?
Our minister right here, Mr. Parson.
Yeah, so it's provincially funded.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I just, we can go on and on in terms of how much more is needed and is necessary. But just once again, just to thank you for everything you do for the community.
Councilor Gilliland.
Thank you. I think Councillor Gallo pretty much asked all the questions that, I thought maybe I'd ask you. One question though, do you also have just random homes within the community where you operate your services from, just like a regular home in a neighborhood as well?
Andrew?
Yes, all of our communities amongst our neighborhood. We want to be, fully inclusive. We're a community where everyone belongs. Our homes look as well as any of our homes, and we take great pride in our community homes. So all 17 of our homes are amongst our community. Yeah.
Councilor?
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that because I did knock on a few doors to where I believe maybe that was your organization, and talked to a few of the nurses there. And I applaud you for what you guys are doing. And it's not easy. And just judging by you guys standing up here right now and talking about the funding and the challenges, I feel you. And I just want to thank you so much for trucking on and continuing on and helping as much as you can, and hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Councilor Gardner?
Thank you. And this is very important work. Thank you. Thank you for coming to tell us about it. You have 180 employees. That's a lot of people. I think my questions have been covered as well, except I would like to say that the respite program is probably very much appreciated. With the 72 homes, like what is your wish list? If you had more money, what would you do?
Andrew?
Yeah, fully inclusive homes. I want, the growth for Central York to provide more services to families, individual, which includes housing, fully inclusive homes to community living Central York as individuals living amongst our community. We have some great partnerships with some great organizations, Blue Doors, Chats, and we're looking at those fully inclusive units for higher functioning individuals and people that experience increased medical or behavioral situations. With the proper supports, the proper housing, and the proper environments, I think those individuals will live in our community very well, and they do now.
Councilor?
Thank you. When you say fully inclusive, what do you mean?
Andrew?
Living amongst all of us for individuals with disabilities having the same opportunities that you and I do, the same affordable housing as you and I do, which is a struggle for those individuals right now. And fully inclusive to us means anyone living in any neighborhood.
Councilor?
Thank you. What does what municipalities encompass Central York?
Andrew?
We have homes in Aurora here, homes in Newmarket, and up in East Gwillimbury.
Council?
Last question. You are integrated with the neighborhoods, and how do you find that the homes are received by the neighbors?
Andrew?
Phenomenal in all three communities. We do some great programming in Stouffville as well. I should have mentioned which Stouffville as well, but no, we're received very well by the community. In fact, a lot of our individuals supported, most of their friendships come from community. I think where organizations have their ups and downs is, when you go through medical or behavior crisis on a regular basis, the more first responders coming to those homes, obviously it brings a different awareness, and the positivity doesn't come with those situations, right? And that becomes a real challenge for organizations, but 95% of our experience with all communities, including Aurora, is phenomenal.
Councilor?
Then I'd like to say they're probably very well run. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. Councilor Thompson?
Thank you. And thank you for being here tonight. And I understand your challenges with regards to resources and funding, but what can we do here at the town of Aurora to help support your mandate with regards to community living?
Andrew?
I think just think of that video and our individual supported when there's any opportunities with developers, any opportunities with donors or anyone that's looking to help out those people with intellectual or developmental disabilities, to think of all organizations and Central York on how we can partner, how we can work together, and how we can ensure that we have affordable housing for those individuals.
Thank you. And over and above housing, I mean, we have recreational centers. We are striving to be more accessible, offering a wider range of things. Are there programs or things that the town can do or work with you on that would be supportive of your efforts?
And
I think evening and day program, if we could look at those wait lists that's in our community and amongst the DSO, like I said, there's 3,000 people looking for programming. I think with partnership and with the facilities that are accessible, we could work with our skilled staff to create great programming for our communities, which would benefit many families and individuals.
Great.
Council?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilor Reese?
Thank you. I was just waiting to the end, and everybody touched on almost everything, but you mentioned a little bit about donors when you were asked a question. Do you have an active fundraising donor program that, and if you do, are you satisfied with it? What do you need to boost that?
Andrew?
Yeah, I think 2016 we had a significant capital campaign with our community, right? So we we brought our old building to a beautiful state-of-the-art building, right? And then COVID slowed down our donations, and the world changed drastically. But no, we're increasing our awareness again in the communities. We're increasing our engagement with donors. We had a great event on May 4th. And we most recently brought in a director of fundraising to help with that, with significant personal relationships here in York region. So, but again, always more help is needed. The pressures are significant running that many homes, and having 30 vehicles and the cost of food and everything else. But anytime there's an opportunity to bring, colleagues or any kind of major donors or gift givers to Central York, it would be greatly appreciated.
Council?
Thank you for being here tonight. It's very informative. I'm very impressed with the work you do. And I just want to thank you and all the staff for everything you do for our communities.
Thank you. Hi, Andrew. Thank you very much for coming this evening. Like I said, phenomenal work that you guys do in all our communities, much needed. Hopefully some changes and some extra funding can also come from the provincial level. We all know that ODSP is not enough for someone to live on their own. It just is. And so there needs to be things that are corrected on that level. Hopefully we'll find the correct path that will allow for, for people to have proper housing, essentially. It's a long waiting list, and we need to help those in our communities. So Thank you for coming this evening. And as I mentioned, counselors, if you get an opportunity, please email Andrew or Bonnie and take a tour of the facility. You'll brighten up your day. If you're having a bad day, you walk through there, you're gonna leave with a smile on your face, 100%. So Andrew, thank you very much. Bonnie, thank you very much for coming this evening. Appreciate it. Council, call the vote. That carries. Consent agenda. 4 items. Someone would like to move that? Be approved. Councillor Gilliland, second. Councillor Weiss. Any comments, questions on those items? Call the vote. That carries. Okay, we'll move to 8.1.6 Parks and Rec Master Plan 2023 Final Plan Presentation. Councillor Thompson, you move it. Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Gardner. Any comments, questions? Call the vote. That carries. 8.2.7. This was a request for traffic calming measures, various locations. Councillor Thompson, you pulled this one as well. I didn't hear. I don't think everyone heard him.
I can't move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Someone like to move the staff recommendation. Councillor Gilliland, thank you. Seconder. Councillor Gallo, thank you. Councillor Thompson, floor.
I've had a chance to speak with Mr. Rumono and Mr. Batt and touched upon this last one. It was at General Committee. While I'm supportive of moving forward with the traffic calming measures for Aurora Heights, the second item on the recommendation, I'd like to ask that the one for Conover be deferred until September. As was noted in the report, the requirement for a petition to notify the residents in the area was waived. And talking to some of them, no one knows that this is coming. And so as we've seen with Benville, we've seen with Kitimat, we've seen time and time again, when we take these initiatives and the residents aren't informed, it sometimes comes back to bite us. And we have other residents that then approach to delegate, and we have a long-winded conversation. So I would just ask that the Conover Avenue between River Ridge and Borealis be deferred until September to give staff a chance to reach out to the residents in the area to inform them of this request. And they may all be in favor of it, but I would just rather get ahead of it than be reactive to it. In speaking to Mr. Ramono, staff are quite prepared to, proceed with that petition. And this is a unique case because the complaint came in 2021, I believe, or 2020. The request for a petition was waived because of COVID. For Aurora Heights, it wasn't waived. They still did a petition. They just lowered the requirement number to 55% as opposed to 70. But in this case for Conover, there was no engagement with the residents. And so that's why I'm asking for it to be deferred. So I'm happy to put that on the floor as an amendment with regards to 2A.
So Councillor, refer it back to staff.
Sure, refer it or defer it.
Refer.
Makes you happy, makes me happy.
Makes me happy because procedurally refer. All right, someone want to second that referral?
Yep.
Yeah. Councillor Gilliland? You second it? Okay, thank you. Speaking to the referral. Mr. Romano?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor, I've had a discussion with our traffic analyst, and moving forward, I think it is appropriate that we continue to conduct the appropriate petitions and surveys of the affected residents. So I don't have a concern if this is referred back to September, and staff will work to consult with the area residents and present that petition in September, October.
Thank you. Councilor Gardner? And just to remind everyone, this is just for 2A, the referral. It's not for anything else. Okay. Go ahead, Councilor.
Watching me,
Just making sure.
I mean, we have a process and it, because of COVID, we didn't follow it, but because it's before us now, I think we do have to follow that process. So I would agree.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions to the referral? Councilor Gallo?
Thank you. I'm trying to remember, it was on the agenda of the last Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, and I'm trying to remember whether or not anyone delegated. I don't think so, and maybe that's because it wasn't, the community wasn't aware. And maybe through you, Mr. Romano, did we have any communication even through it being on the agenda for the traffic safety?
Mr. Romano?
I didn't get the name right.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, I don't believe so.
Okay. Makes sense to me, obviously, to communicate first.
Any other comments, questions? I think we're all supportive of this, so we'll call the vote. That carries. Back to the main motion. I didn't have a second. Councilor Thompson, you still have the floor.
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you.
Anybody else to the original motion? Minus now the referral? Councilor Gallo? I'll get you. Go ahead.
I thought I heard a September. I thought I heard a time frame for that. I don't see it in there.
Do we? I mean, we can add it in, I guess, if we want.
Just to put a time frame to it.
Mr. Clerk, can you add to be brought back September? Pardon? Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the understanding to begin with. So I don't think and Mr. Romano's saying it's not an issue as well. So I could really complicate things, Councilor Gallo, and say, would you like it to go back to the active transportation committee? We'll see what happens in September when it comes to us, and then we can figure out. Okay. All right. Okay, so how's that, Councilor Thompson? Is that good? Everyone's good? All right. Call a vote. That carries. Next, 8.2.8. This is the update in response to new provincial planning legislation. Councilor Gardner, you pulled this one. Would you like to move the recommendation out of committee?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. Seconder, Councilor Gilliland. Councilor Gardner, floor is yours.
Thank you. The reason I'm raising it this evening, it was on our GC report last week. It's, we've gotten a lot of different policies from the provincial government, and this is a pretty big one, that to merge the provincial policy statement with the growth plan. So I wanted to know what the region thought about it. Thank you, Mr. Mino, for sending me the information. What stood out to me in our report was that there's no definition of affordable housing in the PPS update. And I think we need that for accountability and, as the region said, support evidence-based accountability. So I'm very pleased to see that. And I mean, I would be very pleased to see that, Mr. Mino. The other thing that really worried me was the change in definition of employment areas, because these are so important to our economic development, to our economic health. And the region has commented on that with some concerns. And one of them, and I think it doesn't have to do with this council, but we are part of the region of York. And I think we should support what the region is saying with respect to a variety of municipalities. And one of them is, quoting from the region, the growth plan identifies where and how to grow to promote economic vitality while protecting the natural environment and agricultural systems. And although this doesn't just involve us directly with agricultural systems, and Mr. Mayor, you and I have had discussion about that, it's I think we need to be very careful about our future with where we get our produce from and our food supplies. So I'm glad to see that the region has put that in their comments. Through Mr. Mayor to Mr. Mino, is there anything in the region's submission that is of concern to you?
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no. I mean, I've seen this report, and we regularly meet with regional staff and the other member municipalities to discuss the provincial changes. So again, I have no issues with anything in the regional staff report.
Councillor?
A follow-up. Have most or other municipalities sent a motion of their council to support the regional position?
Mr. Romano?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not aware of how many municipalities have, but I think most were in support of the region taking the lead and providing those comments directly to the ministry.
Councillor?
Thank you. Well, as Mr. Mino has no concerns, and as I think it's appropriate for us as a council to support the region's statement to the province, I'd like to add to this that Aurora Council support the regional report and comments dated May 18th, 2023, related to the proposed provincial planning statement. Now, actually, it was supposed to be considered last week, and it wasn't. It was referred to this following week. So we would have to say the provincial planning statement be considered by the regional council on June 29th, 2023. Thank you, Mr. Mino, for help with that wording.
Seconder?
Could someone second it at
Councillor
least for
Gilliland?
discussion?
Thank you.
I guess through you, Mr. Mayor, does anybody have concerns about us supporting the regional?
I think we'll get into that once we
Okay,
speak to the amendment.
Okay.
Any comments or questions to the amendment? You want to see it on the board? Just give me a sec. Can we get the date? Did you want to put the date in there of the report? From dated, yeah. And Councillor Gardner's got the date. In essence, that's what it is, but it's going to have some wordsmithing going on right now. Has everyone read the comments from the regional report? I appreciate it. I'm just curious because I see everyone looking through their iPads. Councillor Thompson, go ahead. One sec.
I-
Go ahead. Oh, one sec. Sure. You hit your button again, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I may very well be in support of it, but the challenge I'm having, of course, is I've not read the regional report or their comments. And so I'm being asked to vote on something blindly. And I just, at this point in time, I've challenged to do that. I appreciate that you sent an email earlier, but I haven't had a look at it, nor have I absorbed it all. And just for that reason, I can't support it. I don't know if there's, through you to Mr. Ramuno. Mr. Ramuno, do we have to approve this motion tonight? Could we not deal with it at our next council meeting, which is what, July 12th? So 2 weeks away. Would it still have that same impact? At least that would give some of us, myself included, who perhaps aren't overly familiar with the report and the comments,
So,
an opportunity to read.
so Councillor, I'll get Mr. Ramuno to answer as far as from timing. If it is fine, then I have no issues in allowing it under new business because I don't believe it's a substantive motion. It's just a matter of us reading the information. So I would allow it under new business. At that July.
July,
Yeah.
sure, but I'm
Yeah.
just
That's what
because
I'm saying.
you know, I'd like to support it, but I can't do it without really having had a chance to read the information. I don't think that's fair to
Mr.
myself.
Ramuno, as far as from a timing, does it need to, would this resolution need to be now or could it wait till like our July meeting?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I think July is fine. I think the commenting period was early June, but as the region hasn't submitted their comments yet, I think it's going to regional council this week. I don't believe another couple of weeks is going to make a big difference.
So that would be my preference.
Okay. Councillor Reese?
Yeah, I have the same attitude. I haven't done a deeper dive on that. I read through it, but I was not looking for the nuances that are problematic. I trust that you have done that, and that's fine. But if I'm going to vote on this, I'd like to have that deeper dive. So I appreciate the sentiment and the value of it. I'm just a little concerned about voting on something now that I might regret later.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Gardner, are you fine withdrawing that and doing it under new business in July? Give your colleagues an opportunity to go through that regional report.
That's fine if Mr.
I'll allow it under new
feels that's
business.
appropriate.
I'll allow, it's up to the chair. I'll
Thank you.
allow it.
And
in new business.
actually, the region was already supposed to consider this, and I found out from Mr. Runer today that
We're dealing with it. on
they
Thursday.
deferred it. So I have no problem with that unless, Mr. Runer, when does the region have to have their comments in by?
Mr. Romano,
And when do we have to have our comments in by?
Mr. Romano,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe when the province released the draft PPS, they had issued solicited comments by June 5th. So again, I'm sure the region has probably asked for an extension. And again,
we did ask for an
yeah,
extension.
so I don't think there's a concern with a couple week delay.
And Councillor, just to,
What about the municipalities? Is there a similar?
Mr. Romano,
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I think the extension would apply right across the province, I'm sure.
so Councillor, I just want to say, I think it's appropriate that we wait till at least till after Thursday, because for all we know, at regional council, we could make some modifications to that report.
Right,
And then we'd be
did-
supporting, you could be supporting something that maybe you don't necessarily support anymore.
thank you. Mr. Runer and I did discuss that, and we think the chances of that, or he thinks the chances of that are pretty
Well-
much zero, but I'm fine with that.
Okay.
And so what I sent everybody, Mr. Runer sent us the whole shebang. What I sent was the link, but also it's just the chart of comments. So it's quite easy to, you can go through the whole report, but it's basically a summary with the chart of comments. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to withdraw this amendment.
We can do that.
Okay.
Councilor, go on.
Back to the motion. Do you have any other comments, Councillor Gardner? To the main motion? Still have the floor.
Well, just that there's now, I don't know if people read that, but there's no longer going to be, the region is no longer going to have, I think it's every few years they ask if the municipalities want to change any of the land use planning and
The MCRs.
yeah, so
Yes.
that's no longer happening. So then everything is in our control.
Mhm.
But I just would like to say to council that there are changes to land use. You can change employment land to residential at any time. And you can change existing employment to residential. So I'm just saying, to me, our economic development is so important with respect to our employment lands that, and I think the region supports that. So I'm just saying, as we pass or as we defer this tonight, it's something when you're reading the report to please think about, because we know residential does not pay for residential, so we need that business development. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak to clause 3. I wasn't at the meeting last week and I didn't get a chance to watch the video, but I suspect, and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, the staff recommendation on the report it says as such are recommending an amendment to the town's procedure bylaw, being bylaw number 6228-19, as amended to limit individual delegations to 1 5-minute opportunity per agenda item during public statutory meetings. And I assume there was an amendment or someone put on the floor to what's before us, that the an amendment to the procedure bylaw allow members of the public to speak more than twice at a public planning meeting. No more than twice at a public planning meeting. And I wanted to clarify that. I assume that's what happened. I just wanted to make sure that if anyone is reading that we were actually, or you were, making it so that the public has opportunity and not as restrictive as was in the report. I just wanted to make it clear that that's what's before us.
You're correct, Councillor Ed. There was an amendment that was put forward to increase from once to twice, and that passed unanimously.
I thought so.
Any other comments or questions to this? Before I call the vote, I just want to say, while there are some concerns in regards to maybe some of the changes, the one thing I will say is that, I've for long advocated for more control at the local level. Some of the changes are going to allow us to control our destiny when it comes to land use planning, which I think is actually a better way to move forward. We're seeing a lot of changes where planning is being taken out of the hands at a regional level, and more of that authority is put on the local level, which I think is for the betterment of our community. So there are still some things that we need to be concerned about, absolutely, but I think we can work through those. Call a vote. Bill, no? Yes. Councillor Weiss is yes. That carries. Okay, we'll move to motions. We only have one since one was withdrawn. Someone like to move it? Councillor Thompson, second. Councillor Gilliland, thank you. I think this was just pretty straightforward at this point. As you see through the attachment, the minister has sent a letter out. I believe it's to 21 more municipalities where he's asking the municipality to find an appropriate local appropriate housing target. And then for us to develop a housing pledge that we sign off on and send back to the province. This is just in essence to direct staff to develop that number, to develop that pledge, and for us to have enough time to have discussions here at this table where we can possibly, whether it's making adjustments when the report does come back, pledge, to make sure that we can get it in before the December 15th submission deadline. So on that, I will see what everyone else has to say. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I'm supportive of the motion, and I have seen some of the other works that other municipalities have done with respect to that. So just, I guess, in terms of the process, is the intent then is if this passes tonight, staff would then come back with a report and all members of council would have an opportunity then to do a little bit of a deeper dive onto it and maybe put forward some of the parameters that they may like to see in the pledge. I know that other municipalities have put in certain caveats in there in terms of wanting to see different things happen in order to meet those targets, to ensure that growth is responsible and balanced. And then secondly, I don't know if it was sort of the intent or, but with regards to the second clause where it says being brought forward to council for approval, did you want to wordsmith that a bit so that you members of council, it's being brought forward for further consideration?
Yeah, so Councillor, two things. One, they're both yeses. So to answer them quickly, they're both yeses. The first one, absolutely. I would encourage not only to wait for the report to come back, but also to sit down with Mr. Ramuno and staff and talk about some of the things that you'd possibly like to see in that pledge as Mr. Ramuno is working on that. So I would suggest that to each and every one of us. And then the other one, as far as clause number 2, I did have a discussion with Councillor Gardner earlier about the exact same thing. I did talk to Mr. Ramuno when we drafted the motion, and when I saw the part for the approval, I said that it should be consideration for approval. So I believe that Mr. Clerk has that prepared. So if you and Councillor Gilliland are okay with that, we can just make that a friendly amendment and change the wording in that second clause. Okay. Councillor Thompson, anything else?
Thanks. So, as a first step, I'm supportive of it, but as you said, it'd be good to get it back and have further conversations. As we talked about earlier tonight, growth by itself is a necessity, but we also want to make sure that we have the infrastructure, the services and the support in place as well, so that we can maintain the needs and expectations of our residents. And so you cannot grow with also looking at the bigger picture and making sure all the other pieces are in place. So, happy to have further conversations about that as part of that pledge to make sure that, it's smart and responsible whenever we do grow.
Thank you. Councillor Weiss.
Thank you. Mine's similar, but I don't see anywhere in this pledge, and perhaps you brought it up by saying we were going to have some conversations with people about what's in that pledge, but the whole notion of affordable housing, attainable housing is not in this pledge, and I think we ought to have some reference to that in this pledge. It's not surprising, seeing at the document that we saw before, the province haven't even identified what affordable and attainable housing is. And frankly, if you can't define it, you can't achieve it. So I'd like to, in every document that we send back regarding housing, that we have some measure of affordable housing targets in there for ourselves. And maybe that'll come from the Affordable Housing Action Plan. I just didn't want to get it lost. I think it's okay in here the way it is, provided that we're considering everything that should be in that pledge and those targets.
Absolutely, Councillor. So as I mentioned, this motion is just strictly to direct staff to start the work. Those are the things that we'll be discussing as we work through developing that pledge, and also when it comes back before us. And we'll, as I said, we'll get into a deeper dive and have those discussions about what we would like to see in it. And just to give everyone examples, so the Caledon and I'll use Caledon because it's one that I pulled up quickly. They made 4 key requests within their pledge. So one was funding tools for all growth related greenfield areas, no services for housing, infrastructure, public amenities, respect for Caledon's growth phasing plans and secondary planning processes to help Caledon plan for Caledon, a stop to MZOs so Caledon's pledge is not compromised, and restricting appeals on planning applications that are premature and not supported by the town. That's what they've put in their pledge. So similarly, we'll be able to do the same kinds of things. We'll put in what's important to us and what we would basically be telling the province that for us to be committed and to try to achieve this housing target number that we supplied to you, these are the things that we're requesting that needs to be done for us to make that commitment.
Thank you.
Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you. I was going to make reference to the exact same thing, Councillor Weiss, so thank you very much for bringing that up. I guess we're thinking the same things. Through Mr. Chair to Mr. Ramuno, the subsequent, piece to affordable housing that was requested, do we have any idea when we would be receiving that report back?
Mr. Ramuno?
Through Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, was that the
Report with the pledge. When the report,
oh,
or are you talking about the Affordable Housing Action Plan?
It's like to the official plan from the
Yeah.
OPA, that subset document on affordable housing. There was motion made to have a report back based on what that would look like. I think that's kind of important when we're looking at a pledge like this as well.
Mr. Ramuno?
through you, Mr. Mayor, correct. Yeah. So we're going to follow up with that housing action plan. But I think with respect to this motion, there are points that we can include in this pledge, as we've heard from a number around the table with respect to some of the issues that are that have been raised regarding need for infrastructure, and of course our role in trying to deliver or supporting affordable housing, and the role that the private industry has as well. So those are all points that we're going to deal with in our future report and will be included in the pledge for council's consideration.
Councillor?
Thank you. And I would expect that it would be included, and I would expect that the intensification, if we are considering affordable housing, would occur in those areas. So I think it's great that we are actually doing a subset of our OPA at the same time. And that's really going to help identify a good target number for what we feel is appropriate. Other than that, I think this is great. It kind of gives us accountability to what we want to meet. And I look forward to seeing that report back so we can have a fulsome discussion on what that looks like. Thanks.
You, Councillor Gardner?
Thank you. I agree with the comments. And I believe that in Aurora, we're building a lot of housing that is relatively high end. Maybe at some point you could do an analysis of the range of prices of housing that's being done in Aurora. But and the province may or may not be interested so much in attainable housing and affordable housing, but I think that as a municipality and what the mayor's put forward, we should be. So I think we also need to have a definition. It's hard to get an exact definition of attainable housing that gives you, I mean, it'll give you percentages, but it's hard to pin it down. But maybe that's something that we can decide as a council what we would consider to be attainable housing. Because I do not believe that we are providing much attainable housing in the town of Aurora at the moment.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Weiss, second time.
Whenever we get these requests from upper tiers, I sometimes have to look at the purpose of it. And so my question is maybe to Mr. Ramuno or to our legal representative, but is the intent of this housing target to identify again what our planning, the value of our planning, and that planning will be recognized And I'm thinking of it in terms of our targets. So I believe that our targets, at least I've always heard that our targets are on side with the Places to Grow Act. And what I'm wondering here, and if anybody has any comments on it, I'd like to hear them, is that when we are deliberating on developments that are achieving our targets, then are we going to be feeling more comfortable that this document, this pledge is going to be honored? And so therefore going to a tribunal or to another level of appeal, they will look at these targets, because if that's the case, then I'm very happy about this pledge, and we ought to be really careful about it. But I don't know if you have that information, you or through you to Mr. Ramuno.
I can start if Mr. Ramuno wants to expand upon it. I mean, ultimately, this is, I would say the objective of the provincial government is to put this forward to try to achieve their target of 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years to be built right across the province. As we know that they actually set targets for, I believe it was Mr. Ramuno, 28 municipalities. And they provided that number and said, this is what we expect from you, and have your pledge, sign it and send it back that you're going to try to meet that target. In this instance, what they've done is the next 21 that they've decided to send this letter out to, they've allowed us to look at our housing target from what's locally appropriate for us, instead of giving us a number. And I think it's very appreciative of the minister to provide that, to allow us to pick the number, because now what we can do is have that discussion you mentioned and say what is appropriate for our community, and provide that number to province and be confident that we can meet that number as well. But I think the additional part of the pledge is in the details that we're going to add in as we work through this, that talks to the fact that we're not going to just automatically approve things because they come to this table and it's going to help us meet that target. It still needs to meet the requirements of whether it's through our official plan or whether it's the actual development or application is appropriate for our community. It's not just it's going to provide us 250 units. It's going to help us get closer to that housing target number. So we're just going to automatically approve it. That's to me, I think that's the part that the pledge is all about, is about setting what is acceptable for us in approving these applications that would be coming forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garner, second time.
Thank you. Thank you to Councillor Weiss. Following on that, the province's goal of 1.5 million homes, they haven't broken that down into what these homes are supposed to be. Affordable, attainable, high-end.
It's just units, essentially.
Just a unit.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
is it
whatever number-
clear to you from the minister's letter that if we do this work and we say we want X number of houses that are in this price range, that we wouldn't be taken to the board? Oh, you think that's funny? You're right.
That's not a guarantee, but as I mentioned, like
how can
we put it in if it's like anything. If the province, it's not, they don't have to follow what we put in there, but we're putting it in as requests, just as Caledon did, right? I'll give you the example. The last one, restricting appeals on planning applications that are premature and not supported by the town. That essentially they're saying, if it's not supported by the town, you're not taking us to appeal. But we all know they still have a right to appeal it regardless.
No, we could think about this, because maybe we could add, we're willing to do this if you're not going to allow our wishes or our work to be built. I mean, I'm wording it terribly, but I think that, we could do something like that in.
No, absolutely. And just Mr. Ramuno, within some of the stuff that the ministry has sent to us is how to structure the pledge and what some of the things at a high level would like to see within that pledge and the things that we can put in and all that, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. That's correct. And just keep in mind, as the mayor mentioned, the previous 28 municipalities that have submitted pledges. The total number unit count is over 1.2 million. So I think what the province is looking at from the various municipalities, they understand what the regional long-term growth forecasts are. We have our growth forecast at 2051 as outlined in the provincial growth plan. This housing pledge is really, they really want to see what the local targets are from each municipality over the next 10-year period. And so when we do generate those numbers, we will provide those based on our official plan, our current official plan policies, secondary plans, and specifically our intensification areas. Those housing projections that we feel are realistic. And again, I think as Councillor Thompson mentioned earlier, we already have a certain number of units that council has already approved that haven't been built or are in process.
Councillor Carter?
Thank you. Well, I haven't heard anybody say to me that we need more large homes in Aurora. It's been homes that more people can afford, including their children who might want to live in Aurora. And certainly during the mayoral election, that was a big focus. Congratulations to Premier-elect Chow. But
Mayoral-elect. Mayor-elect.
Mayoral-elect.
Not premier-elect.
No.
I don't think Mr. Ford would be pretty happy right now to hear that.
Although he said she's a very nice person or a nice person or something. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we have to be a little bit tough on this, because if we're going to go to all this work and decide what we want, let's really go for it.
Well, it's as I mentioned, the great thing about this is it's going to be a made in Aurora housing target and a made in Aurora pledge. And it's going to be up to us sitting around this table to develop.
Well, there's only one kind of housing missing in Aurora, Mr. Mayor, that we can do anything about.
Councillor Thompson, second time.
Thank you. Just briefly, I do believe it's a good exercise. As you noted, the first crop of municipalities, they were assigned a number. So now they've come to municipalities and say, submit your pledge. My thought would be that if those municipalities choose not to, they're going to get assigned a number. So it is better for us to be proactive and develop our own solution. But secondly, to Councillor Gardner's question, we spend a lot of time, resources, and energy in developing an official plan based on meeting population targets, and yet we still get taken to the OLT and we still get defeated. And so, I suspect that even though we will go to a lot of work and draft a pledge up, it'll still be susceptible to that. And I still don't like our chances anytime we go to the OLT, because at this point in time, it doesn't seem to be in favor of municipalities. It seems to be more geared towards development.
Any other comments, questions? Call the vote. That carries. New business. Councillor Gallo. Oh, Councillor Thompson. Go ahead.
Thank you. First, Councillor Kim sends his thank yous and appreciation for your willingness to move the item forward. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, in a room full of people, the reception he got was quite poor, and so he did lose the signal, but he did appreciate it. He certainly was in favor of the gym and wanted that to be known, but is glad to hear that it did pass. Secondly, just along that same lines, there just is a news story out with regards to the county Simcoe and their development called Simcoe Village, which they budgeted for $200 million. The price tag just came out at $311 million for it. So they're seeing a 50% increase to their particular project, just to reinforce that idea of things continuing to expand exponentially. And lastly, through you to Mr. Ramuno. Mr. Ramuno, has there been any further update with the region with regards to the stoplights, either across from the SARC or on Butternut Road? I know a number of residents, they're all anxious to see it get in there. I know we are doing everything we can, but we are, shall we say, a little bit at the mercy of the region. But do you have any timelines you can update the residents on?
Mr. Ramono.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll certainly follow up tomorrow, but the last I heard, the one on Wellington was scheduled for this fall, and I believe the one at Young and Butternut was next year, but we'll place a call into regional staff to get an update, and I'll circulate that to council once I do get an update.
Sure. Mr. Council, before you start, I'm going to have our CO add, because there's other information to that. CO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can just add to those comments that I had a discussion with Bruce McGregor about those two lights. And we have offered to facilitate that and build them back if they'd like, if it would speed things up. So he's taking that into consideration and is committed to getting back to us soon.
I'm sure we'd all like to see them sooner rather than later. I mean, the reason why the council has been supportive and moving it forward was for safety reasons. It is well needed. And so we need to do whatever we can to try and expedite the process. So appreciate that. Thank you. That's it for me.
So, and I did want to mention, I did reach out to Joseph at the region as well in regards to the one at Butternut. They originally, as Mr. Rumino mentioned, for delivery in 2024. However, staff, and I'm just going to read it, staff of Public Works Capital Delivery Team have adjusted our program and are expecting to expedite delivery of these signals for installation in late 2023. Well, that I can't give you a definite, but I think that's also why our CEO is working on the fact that looking at us taking control of it and getting them up and running as soon as possible and just billing back the region. Councilor Garner, new business.
I don't think it was mentioned, and it's my mistake, but we have a new pedestrian activated stoplight on Henderson. Which, thank you, Councilor Gallo. Councilor Gallo was quite interested in the safety of that, and we did improve it in the meantime. Now it's actually working now, so that crosswalk, pedestrian activated crosswalk on Henderson. So thank you through Mr. Mayor to Mr. Muno for Mr. Batt's work on that. And we're waiting to see what kind of traffic the new LCBO is going to generate in that Metro Plaza on Henderson.
I believe that lane is opened up as well, has it not? The one that was shut down for a while.
It finally did.
Yes.
And I think my residents and possibly Councillor Weiss's residents are really annoyed with all the work that's.
Well, I think anyone that was visiting the LCBO is thankful as well.
But there's so much work being done, and 10 o'clock last night, I heard some work being done somewhere on Yonge Street. So I hope it wasn't under the bridge. There have been a lot of Pride festivities. I was in Toronto on the weekend. It's quite fantastic, but also the extra security that's required is disturbing. None of that's really new business. But, that's all I got for now.
Thank you, Councilor Gilliland. New business?
What?
No, that's in July.
In July.
No, you don't have to.
July.
Don't worry, we got to take care of it. Councilor Gilliland?
Thank you. Thank you. Through Mr. Chair, to Mr. Ramuno, just an update. I know I asked you earlier just to get you an update on the signs on Benville. I was expecting it to be on the agenda for this round of council and GC, but we didn't see it. I'm really hoping that we can get a nice summer where people can park and enjoy those trails or some sort of decision. And I know those temporary signs are still up. Could you please give me some sort of ETA of what's happening there?
Ramono?
Dear Mr. Mayor, I made a note. I'm going to follow up with staff tomorrow and I'll have a response for council.
Councilor?
Thank you. And then one last question through Mr. Chair, Mr. Ramuno. Didn't preface this earlier, but I'm sure you know the parking sign on Yonge Street by the Ashiro, where the parking problem is. Was that no parking sign installed? Because I mean, I drive by there and I haven't seen it. Maybe I missed it, but I thought I'd confirm before I got the email back. from the resident. I just don't recall seeing an official do not park here.
Mr. Morano?
Through Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if it's out yet, but I know our staff has talked to the owner of that retail shop, and a sign was supposed to go up. Not last week, this week, but again, I'll circle back. But that was a priority for us.
Counselor?
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair. So this is going to be a sign that's going to be erected by the business owner, not the town then, 'cause for some reason I thought maybe the town was going to actually put a no parking sign there, make it a little bit more official.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're going to start with we had discussions with staff and the business owner. There really isn't any room for a proper parking sign. We did paint the curb, but we were going to have the owner put up replace one of his A-frame signs with a no parking sign, and they had agreed to do that.
Counselor?
Thank you. And do they have a timeline to do this? Because I know we had asked them a month ago and they didn't do it. And here we are, almost July. And, I certainly want to put a timeline on this, make them accountable.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll have a response for you tomorrow.
Counselor?
Perfect. Thank you. And just lastly, I just want to make a quick comment to engineering department. Thank you very much. I don't know if they're listening or not, but they did respond to some sodding issues that needed to be repaired on one of the area streets where there was some culvert or mill and overlay work or something or other that was done. And I just want to thank staff for immediately responding to that and getting that fixed. Thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Weiss?
Thank you. Just through you to Mr. Ramuno, likely it has to do with the repair resurfacing that's being done. It looks like it's well underway with Industrial Parkway, but the people at Lormont and Moseley who are scheduled for this are wondering when. They're anxious about learning. Is there a schedule published somewhere where we can identify when things are going to be happening?
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the schedule is for Moseley and Lormont, but I'll provide an update tomorrow.
Thank you.
Counselor Gardner, you had something else?
This is probably entirely inappropriate, but I would like to thank the 3 staff members who were here this evening and were not called on to comment, for being so patient with us.
Thank you. No other new business. We'll go to bylaws. A motion for the bylaws. Councilor Gilliland, Councilor Gardner. Any comments or questions about the bylaws? Call the vote. That carries. Confirming bylaw. Councilor Thompson, second. Councilor Gallo. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Gilliland, Councilor Thompson, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.